So I was looking at some ways of making my new studio and office space more interesting and pleasant to be in, and maybe thinking about some sort of backdrops and objects to make the videos look more interesting in the background. And it took me around to thinking about lava lamps. It's been years since I've last had a lava lamp. MATHMOS is, well, certainly in the UK, the sort of standout brand. As far as I'm aware, these were the originators of the lava lamp in any form back in 1963, I think it was. Back around 20 years ago, I did have one of these Telstar units. So initially I went onto the MATHMOS site thinking, oh, I'll buy another one of those, they're pretty nice, they look good, give out nice ambient light. So I've picked up one of those, they're £77. I don't think that's really changed that much in the last 20 years. I'm sure they were around about that price 20 years ago when I bought one last. But what really stood out on the webpage, their product line's changed. There's a few additions, a few things which are no longer available. But one really interesting addition, which I thought was really stand out and made me really think and want some of these, was the Fireflow unit. A much smaller lava lamp, but candle powered. And I just thought, what a fantastic idea. I don't understand why people hadn't thought of that before, but I certainly hadn't, and I'd never seen anything like it. So I picked up a couple of these. So I've got the Telstar in chrome with a green and blue wax, and I picked up two of these. Some for use in the studio, but also I thought for the dining room and bedroom as well, because being a candle powered unit, you don't need to have a trailing wire, so these make for a great sort of table topper. And apart from the fact they clearly get stolen, you know, what a fantastic thing to have in a restaurant or a bar, I thought. But yeah, nice for home. So I got a copper one with the pink blue wax, and a chrome one here with the orange and violet wax. So we'll start off by taking a look at what's in the pack on these Fireflow units. These are about £40, so not too expensive. Certainly not cheap, but seemed like good value. So let's have a look. Okay, so in the box, you've basically got 4 components plus a little tea light, one supplied for your convenience. You've got a stainless steel, or certainly chromed steel base. I assume it's steel, it might be aluminium. Vented on the front there with a little opening at the back so you can get your tea light into it. On the bottom there's 3 tiny little rubber feet, little plugs jammed in there just to protect your tabletops and so forth. And yeah, little warning saying it get very hot, which is hopefully kind of obvious. Then simply a little retaining ring which pops to the top here, just for the bottle to rest in. Now the bottle's probably, I don't know, I'd describe that as sort of panda pop size, so if you're my age that might mean something. If not, it's probably about the size of a can of Coke, relatively small, but that means it lights up, or sort of heats up rather, really quite quickly, which is obviously a good thing. So that pops to the top, and then simply the top cap goes on, which again is a chromed metal, and you're ready to go. Obviously the candlelight pops in the bottom, like that. Obviously the copper with a slightly different colourway there, all the same sort of stuff, just with a copper plate on it. This will go really nicely actually in our dining room, because we've already got sort of copper items around the table, and equally in our bedroom it's all sort of wood and copper. So yeah, so I thought it was really cool. These heat up in about 20 minutes, which is obviously nice, because you don't need to wait that long. And we'll just light these up, and then we'll take a look at the Telstar. Okay, so that brings us on to the Telstar unit here, which It's probably one of the iconic and classic models that most are familiar with. Certainly, as I say, this is something that I had sort of 20 years ago. I'm not quite sure where that model is now. It might be tucked away in the loft somewhere, but really nice, aesthetically pleasing unit, and really very simple operation. There's not much on the box to read or think about, apart from the fact, MATHMOS states its claim as originator, innovators of the lava lamp, 1963, Edward Carvin Walker being the inventor. But yeah, so very simple in operation, and I'll show you what comes in the box. Okay, so as you might imagine, in the box comes the base unit, which I must say is much improved over what I knew sort of 20 years ago. Little rubber feet on the bottom. I think probably still something you need to keep an eye on, but I remember these popping off all the time, and these seem to be much more securely fixed, being a silicon product now. Also, one big improvement is the way the legs attach. These are now bolted on, and before they used to be slot fitting, so every time you picked it up, invariably a leg would fall off. So really nice to see some improvements there. Not a lot to speak about apart from that. Nice chrome work, MATHMOS logo on one of the legs there, and yeah, looks pretty cool on your shelf once fully assembled. The other thing that comes in there obviously is their proprietary light bulbs, so a bayonet fitting and a D efficiency, so pretty inefficient because it's all about chucking out some heat. So I guess it's designed to be, by modern standards, to be relatively inefficient because you need to lose a lot of the energy in heat rather than light. So a simple bayonet fitting goes in there, and then you've got the bottle unit. Again, as I say, this was a green and blue colourway. MATHMOS logo, which I think is a little bit of a new addition. One thing I noticed with these bottles, sort of old and currently, that they do have little imperfections, little dots and bulbs in the sort of glasswork. And whilst I think that is just a quirk of manufacturing, it does actually almost give a sort of a starry sort of feel to it, a nice little bit of extra sort of depth or texture to the bottle when it's uplit, which I think is quite nice. Another little thing which I think is a step forwards is that you've got a little lip at the bottom of the bottle there, which means that when you put it in here, there's a single positive fit, whereas I think before the bottles didn't have that lip and therefore could sort of rotate slightly. So that's much more positive fitting. Obviously all these bottles have this, don't know if you can see it, a little sort of steel coiled sort of spring ring at the bottom, which helps with distribution of heat to get that wax melting. And then obviously the end cap, just to finish it off in a suitably rockety style. Slightly out of shot there, but we'll get you a photo at the end so you know what it looks like. I think you can imagine it goes on top. But yeah, as I say, these take a little bit longer to heat up. That takes about an hour to heat up. Also, forgot to say with the lava flow, little instruction booklets, really nothing of particular note to read in there, aside from the fact, probably to manage your expectations. Because you've got to heat up these bottles, the performance will depend on the temperature of your room. So if you've got a freezing cold house, which hopefully you don't, because it's nice to be warm, isn't it? But if you've got a freezing cold house, it will take longer to heat up. So average house temperature being about 20 degrees, that's what we have at home. It takes the hour, and yeah, it is a slower heat on these, but once they get going, they're lovely, and they go for ages because it takes a lot to heat them up, but also it takes a lot to overheat them. Another thing that's worth noting is, whilst these are really nice to have around the place, if you keep them in direct sunlight, you will fade the wax. So before we turn this on, the only other point I think is worth noting is, at the moment with the lights on, you can see a lovely differentiation between the green and the blue, and that's very attractive. But if you just have this turned on its own without any real ambient light, the differentiation between the green and the blue diminishes, because actually you're uplighting through the green into the blue, and actually it becomes a greeny blue and a green and it doesn't look quite so striking. So it depends on how you use these, but I do find them best with actually quite good ambient light. Okay, well, let's get this turned on. We've let these for about an hour. As you can see, the Fireflows are well underway. 20 minutes to get those up to temperature. The Telstar has only just got up to temperature. About an hour that takes, and certainly this room wasn't the hottest. So it's just been through the stalagmite phase, whereas it sort of spurts up, freezes, breaks down, comes back, and now it's becoming more liquid and going into a slow flow, really. Yeah. One thing that was interesting is I did set this one over here on the side. Just initially I was going to have it in the background rather than on the table here, and just the proximity to this colder outer wall really slowed down how quickly it got up to temperature. So I brought it back over to the table here. So that really illustrates the point on the need to be in a sort of relatively warm house to get these going. As I say, the colourway that I like the most is this violet and orange. I think that's got the best contrast, whether it's got ambient light or just the light from the candle rising up. I think that looks really nice. Okay, well, that pretty much brings us to a close on this. Really liked reliving sort of my youth of having a lava lamp again. Really nice thing to have around the house. I've been using this one as an occasional nightlight for the kids as well, so that's quite nice. Yeah, really nice to have them. You'll be hopefully seeing those sort of fall into a backdrop in future videos, because I'm trying to set up the studio to make it a bit more of an interesting place to film. If you haven't seen my channel before, please check it out. Not typically lava lamps or lighting or anything like that. The mainstay of my videos is fashion, footwear, denim, that sort of thing, everyday carry, fountain pens, pen knives, cycling, running, those sort of things are my sort of typical sort of themes for videos, but I thought this was a nice distraction and something that I'd picked up and found very pleasant to have. Okay, well, if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. Of course, if you're not subscribed, I'd love it if you subscribed, and I'll see you for the next video.